As promised, guys, I wanted to come to you guys and give you guys a last image and an idea of what we finished up with in regards to our water system. We got notification the other day that our order was in, so we went down, spent an evening going down into Spokane and picked up our new toy. So we got ourselves a 1 horsepower cast iron Wayne well pump. I did a bunch of research online, and a lot of the 1 horsepowers were of similar expenditure, but the Waynes seem to have the most consistent positive reviews. The negative reviews, in my mind, were of the kind of things that was probably operator error, not so much a problem with the product itself. And so we ended up going that route. We had some options locally, but the reviews just weren't as positive as the Waynes, and we didn't want to go with the more expensive, what's the brand name, Gould, I think is what it was called, because it would like triple the cost. And in my mind, the shallow well portion of this system is more replaceable, and I felt like I'd get longer, more wear and tear out of it. And so that's what we did. We ended up going down and picking up the pump, got some extra parts that we needed for other stuff, and then brought it home and started adding some electrical. What you saw there was I added I had a chunk of cut up extension cord, one of the heavier gauge ones, and so I added that in there so that I could use it portably. Eventually it'll be hardwired into the house when we set up the pressure system in that, but that goes directly into the pressure switch, and I'll probably end up replacing that as well. That was one of the few negative reviews on the Wayne system. It comes with a built-in pressure switch, and people were saying that that's usually crapped out fairly soon, and can harm the pump if it's allowed to cycle repetitively. And by repetitively, we're talking like just so anyways, that is that. And then we need to go into town and actually load up our water, and then get some spare plumbing fittings to be able to hook hoses to it and stuff like that. So more on that in a little bit. We're making our maiden voyage with the water tank, going down and trying filling it up at the local fill station. Going to time this, see how long it takes, because it's just your standard garden hose there. The municipal water place, their water dump station, they shut that down during the winter unless it's an emergency. So apparently us not having water is not an emergency. I would have thought. But anyways, so the local car wash, year-round car wash, they've got a fill station that comes right out of the back of their car wash building. So anyways, we'll see how long it takes. So what you didn't get to see there at the tail end of last night was we actually finished filling up the water tank. That took exactly 31 minutes, hooked up to the back side of the car wash there. 31 minutes to fill 275-gallon tank, and then we went down to the local kind of farm and tractor type store, and we spent some time in there. Tara got to poke at some stuff she's been wanting to do, and I spent some time over in the fittings area, and we ended up creating the fittings for convenient usage of the pump. So all said and done, when we got home last night, I'd looked at the weather, and we were expecting a drop in temperature, and so I didn't want to leave the cube in the back of the truck to finish the project in the morning. And so I went ahead and did this in the dark. So I'd already installed the plug, which plugs right into the extension cord going to the generator, and then I added all the fittings to the actual pump itself. So on the top there, you're seeing the discharge port on the pump with its 3/4 inch, and I just added a little extension, a standard garden hose, and it has a decent gate valve on it, which I'm not pleased with some other valves that I got for the actual cubes themselves, because they just don't open up and spew water out very fast. But anyway, so that is the discharge port, and goes down, and then I've already transferred the water, so it would have gone through there into the door and up onto into the tank. On the other end of things, this is the pump end of things, the inlet, and that's an 1.25 inch fitting right there. And so I ended up putting a little extension on that end as well, and then bought a length of suction hose and cut it to length so that when the cube is in the back of the truck and strapped down, and I get home, I just put the pump on the end of my tailgate there, and then hook in. I added cam locks to the suction hose on both ends, and I had to recreate the little fitting. I already had the special adapter to go onto the special threads that are on the IBC container, but I needed to do something to be able to hook into the cam locks. And so just got a couple more pieces of piping and put those together. And so now it's just a nice perfect length for just setting up and going to town with it. And when I plugged it into the generator last night, it fired up like a charm. I actually had to come over and check on it because it's really, really quiet. The background noise of the generator was actually drowning out the sound of the motor. When I start it up, I actually open all the valves and allow water to flood through the system and start coming out the hose so that it is primed, because you can damage the pump if it's not, if it doesn't have water in the pump housing itself when it gets turned on. So anyways, I flood the system, turn that gate valve off, plug it in so that it comes up to pressure within the housing itself. And again, this would be up into the structure with all the way up on the top. I'll probably get a double female fitting so that I can just put the hose in there. Forgot to do that when I was at the store. But so yeah, then fired up and I checked the flow output, and it was blasting out the other end out of just your standard garden hose. What took 31 minutes to fill only took about 15 minutes to empty. And yeah, so I'm pretty pleased with how that turned out. Didn't have any issues whatsoever, so it's nice to have a project that goes the way it's planned, or without any snafus, having to go back down into town and get parts and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, so that is my transfer pump for the time being, which will later be recycled into the house build as the pressure system. So, and the final part of the drain process is I don't want the pump to run dry, so I babysit it the last couple inches as the water's going down, and then close the gate valve, which causes the pressure switch to cause the pump to go off, close all the valves and everything, and then move the pump out of the way. And then I can get up, and with just only about 5 or so gallons in the bottom of the tank, I pull the tank forward a little bit, rock it up, use a brick or a piece of wood or something like that to rock it forward so all the water's in the front. And that hose would then be hanging off the end of the bed, reopen the valves, and empty the last 5 gallons or so into one of our big jugs. And these are what we've been using in regards to how we're bringing water in. We've got 2 of these and a bunch of little 1-galloners, and so like when we go over to a friend's house or something like that, or family, we have been filling those up and putting just bringing them home with us. Now we're going to use these just as little reservoirs, extra things, maybe take them down and fill them up, but that allows me to get the rest of the water out of there, so we don't have stuff freezing. And then we disassemble the whole system and store it into the shelving that's underneath the water platform. And I feel like we've come up with a pretty efficient way of doing that, and so far the experience has been exactly as planned. Now the next step in this is I'll probably build a little wooden carry case for it, so it's not just sitting unattached to anything in the back of the truck when I'm trying to pump it out. It's got a little bracket on the bottom of it, and so I just didn't want to do that first off, I wanted to get it done last night when we got home in the dark. And then secondarily, I didn't want to attach to anything only to find out that the pump was bad or something like that. So anyways, that's probably the next step and the final step in dealing with the water system, assuming nothing happens to go wrong. And then that'll be done.